The world awoke to headlines of crisis. Tokyo draws a line in the sand. China warns Japan. Don't play with fire. On November 14, 2025, tensions between Japan and China erupted, with Taiwan at the center of the storm. Diplomatic relations have soured overnight. Accusations and threats flying between Tokyo and Beijing. The catalyst, Japan's new Prime Minister, Sanae Takaichi, who has publicly tied Japan's security to Taiwan's sovereignty. This bold move shattered decades of strategic ambiguity and sent shockwaves through the region. For years, Japan balanced economic ties with China and unofficial support for Taiwan, avoiding direct confrontation. Now, that balance is gone. Takaichi's declaration is a direct challenge to China's core interests. The United States, Japan's key ally, is drawn deeper into the standoff, while neighbors like South Korea and the Philippines watch anxiously. The global economy, reliant on East Asian stability, feels the tremors. The question is no longer if a crisis will erupt, but when and how the world will respond. In Tokyo, urgent meetings fill government halls. In Beijing, officials craft stern condemnations. The fragile peace of the Taiwan Strait is under threat, and every nation in the region is re-evaluating its alliances. The stakes are immense, with the fate of Taiwan and the regional order hanging in the balance. The world holds its breath as a new era of confrontation begins. The next moves will shape the future of Asia. The crisis began with a single, unambiguous statement at a press conference in Tokyo. Prime Minister Sanae Takaichi declared, "A crisis in Taiwan is a crisis for Japan." She explained that Japan's southern islands are just over 100 kilometers from Taiwan. Any attack would threaten Japan's security and trade. This was no slip, it was a calculated message. Takaichi invoked Japan's right to collective self-defense, signaling a possible military role in a Taiwan conflict. This broke with decades of vague, cautious language from Japanese leaders. Previous governments avoided directly linking Japan's security to Taiwan. Takaichi erased that ambiguity. Her words drew a red line for China and redefined Japan's foreign policy. For China, this means facing not just Taiwan and the US, but also Japan's self-defense forces. For Taiwan, it's a startling show of support from a powerful neighbor. The world now sees Japan stepping into a more assertive regional role, with all the risks that entails. The strategic calculus in East Asia has fundamentally changed. Takaichi's declaration is a turning point, one that could reshape the region's security landscape. The message is clear. Japan will not stand by if the status quo is threatened by force. Beijing's response was immediate and furious. The Chinese Foreign Ministry condemned Takaichi's remarks as extremely erroneous and dangerous, accusing Japan of interfering in China's internal affairs. China warned Japan to stop sending wrong signals to Taiwan independence forces, declaring a fundamental red line had been crossed. State media painted Takaichi as a radical hawk, reviving fears of Japanese militarism and acting as a pawn for the US. The Japanese ambassador was summoned for a formal protest, and unofficial warnings targeted Japanese businesses in China. Beijing is using diplomatic pressure, public rhetoric, and economic leverage to force Japan back to ambiguity. The goal: isolate Takaichi and pressure Tokyo to retract. The confrontation is now public and the stakes are rising. The diplomatic showdown has only just begun. Why this dramatic shift from Japan? Security analyst Dr. Kenji Tanaka explains, this is the result of years of evolving thought, not a sudden move. Hopes that economic engagement would moderate China have faded. China's military buildup and assertiveness have forced Tokyo to reassess its security. Japan's pacifist constitution has long constrained its military, but reinterpretations now allow for collective self-defense. Takaichi is stretching this to include Taiwan, a controversial but increasingly accepted stance. Geography and economics drive this policy. Japan's trade routes and energy supplies pass through the Taiwan Strait. A conflict there would threaten Japan's economy and territory, especially the nearby Okinawa region. Takaichi's statement is seen as deterrence, not aggression, raising the cost of any Chinese action. The message to Beijing, changing the status quo by force, will be costly. It's a high-risk strategy, but Tokyo sees inaction as riskier. Japan is signaling that peace in the Taiwan Strait is non-negotiable. The stakes for Japan's security have never been higher. Today's crisis is rooted in a century of history. Taiwan was a Japanese colony from 1895 to 1945, leaving a legacy that shapes attitudes in Beijing. Tokyo, and Taipei. For China, Japanese rule is a symbol of national humiliation. Any Japanese interest in Taiwan revives old grievances. For Japan, ties with Taiwan are complex, officially recognizing Beijing's One China policy, but maintaining deep cultural and economic links with Taipei. Many Japanese feel sympathy for Taiwan as a fellow democracy. In Taiwan, memories of Japanese rule are mixed, but many see Japan as a potential ally against Chinese pressure. This tangled history fuels suspicion, sympathy, and rivalry. Every move in today's standoff is loaded with historical meaning. The past is never far from the present in East Asia. History ensures that the current crisis is more than just a political dispute. Prime Minister Sanae Takaichi is a new kind of Japanese leader, nationalist, unapologetically hawkish, and determined to break with post-war caution. She has long called for a stronger military and a tougher stance on China, visiting Taiwan and challenging diplomatic taboos. Her election signaled public support for a more assertive foreign policy. Takaichi believes Japan must act as an equal partner with the US and lead a coalition of democracies in Asia. Supporters see her as decisive. Critics fear she's a dangerous nationalist. For Takaichi, defending Taiwan is both a strategic and moral imperative. She argues that allowing China to absorb Taiwan would undermine democracy and international norms. Her provocative stance is reshaping Japan's role in the region. The fallout from Takaichi's remarks will be a deep diplomatic freeze. High-level talks may be cancelled, and vital communication channels could close. China may retaliate economically, but both economies are deeply intertwined, so measures will likely be targeted and symbolic. Military posturing could escalate, with more patrols and flights near disputed territories, raising the risk of miscalculation. The US will be pressed to clarify its commitments, supporting Japan while urging caution. Other Asian nations may be forced to choose sides, hardening alliances and deepening divisions. The fragile peace that enabled East Asia's prosperity is at risk. The standoff is a clash of nationalisms and competing visions for the region's future. One path leads to deterrence and stability, the other to escalation and possible war. The world watches as Takaichi and Beijing decide the next move. The coming weeks will be critical for the future of Asia.